What's going on, boys? Today we're talking a bit about order development. This series gets significantly fewer views than anything I've done in quite some time, so we're going to start putting important shit in here. So about a month ago, I had a disturbing dream. I used to have cop nightmares all the time, and I somewhat got used to them and they receded a bit. But this one, while not that different from those that came before, struck me in a negative way. You're aware of how, in dreams, significance is weird. As in, an ice cream cone can become the most terrifying thing in the world without morphing into some scary shit. Just an ice cream cone can scare you for some reason. Or something that should have no significance has extreme amounts of significance for, again, reasons you don't understand. Stream logic. Well, in this dream, I was in a northwestern seaside town in a barn in a loft. I knew I had been accused of something bad and feds were coming for me. But the moment in all that was so significant and so horrifying was the choice. You can submit hoping things will go well, but knowing with absolute certainty the worst is going to happen. What happened last time is going to happen again, but this time they're going to get to have their way with you completely. Much of the dread came from thinking of knowing you can hope with all your heart while knowing your hope means nothing. It's not going to turn out the way you are hoping, but you can still hope. That was horrifying to me. More horrifying was all that with temptation remaining that strong. Even though you know things are going to turn out worse than dying, there is still temptation, intense temptation to hope. The next option was, as a character in an important narrative once put it, put some iron in your mouth. That's scary because death is scary. It also feels like the wrong option. You are escaping one form of anxiety and dread and knowing, and replacing it with another form of dread and anxiety and knowing. It's an instant narrowing. The third option was to go down fighting, again knowing you're not getting out. That one feels like the right answer, but there's still that horror, that dread of knowing what's coming. Meaning, if that is the right answer, but you aren't good with it, then there is work that needs to be done there internally. And I had these dreams multiple times over the course of a month, and I guess they were fucking me up worse than I felt they were, because people started asking me if I was okay. In fact, my boss hit me with a "you're working too hard" and gave me 2 days off to rest or something. And I've decided I'm going to trust him on that one. Normally when people break routine without something major going on, that is a bad sign. But I am trusting him. Hopefully it works out. Anyway, we know we're going to die. Our lives are made to be spent. Getting old is happenstance or luck, maybe not even good luck. Another piece of that puzzle came to me in the form of an anime AMV quote short from Megalobox slash Ashta no Joe, I think is how it's what that one is. I don't remember the exact quote, but the essence is, not only are you going to die, but you are probably not going to die in a way you'll want to die. But if you have yourself in order, even that can be okay. The point here, the last component, was accepting the fact not surviving into old age is part of it. The context for that one being a guy, a Christian, trying to accept the fact warfare is part of human nature. Humans are born to do bad, cruel things to each other. Meaning, you can't achieve real peace. More, you can't and probably shouldn't, if you believed you could, run from the real conflict when it reaches you. What bothered me about that was, while we are working our way into a place we can die spiritually secure, knowing you're dying externally for something that doesn't matter was still weighing on me. The new component helps alleviate some of that pressure and horror. You will almost certainly not die in a satisfying way, but that's natural. Again, that is part of it. And that component is important because I thought of a fourth option I hadn't dreamt of, which is running. Theoretically, with the correct set of skills and a low profile, a person can disappear deep into the wilderness and either never get caught or not get caught for a long time. You might think feral people is a meme, but there are, in fact, on record, feral people in my area. Or rather, hundreds of miles deep into wilderness whose entrances I do have access to. And with help, I am beginning to learn how to do that, in theory. But I realized that's not a real option. Uncle Sam, one of many eldritch entities, his sadistic child predator, demonic hive princes, and their brainwashed, marching, shooting drones slash torment receptacles are going to get you. Like, you hear people talk about how they're going to survive when our civil servants, our protectors and servers, decide they no longer need the facade they're barely even trying to keep up anymore. But then you read about American terror tactics, as in the extent to which we are so overfunded and so evil, we can afford to play mind games we don't even need to play with our prey. Like, let's spend $12 million to scare this guy, this one guy, before we spend another $12 million to kill him. That's who we are. There was that video of that quad minigun turret our military was using for something. One of those bullets could tear you in half, and they are throwing thousands upon thousands of them downrange in 1 second. You are not surviving. But let's say you do run somewhat successfully for a while. You're going to be living rough in constant fear, which is what it means to be a slave, until they finally catch you At which point, if you're lucky, you're going to have to fight anyway. And you better pray to God you get to fight and die that way instead of getting taken alive. If the end result is going to be the same no matter what, would you rather drag it out and limp your way across the finish line, hoping you don't get caught alive? Or would you rather rip the band-aid off immediately and go out with at least a pinch of dignity? Running isn't an option. When they come to hurt you, you know what actions you have to take. Your job now, is trying as best you can to make peace with that and not hesitate. What mostly fucks me up about it is the narrowing. You can live your entire life doing A and knowing you're probably always going to be doing A, but there is always the possibility, maybe, hopefully, you could do B or C or D and so on. When it comes time to die, when you hit tears and rain, those possibilities go away. Your life narrows into a point so fine and singular. It's distressing, and as much as you can do all the conscious work you want, you just hope your unconscious mind is more with it than you are. And once again, you never start anything. If someone tries to talk you into starting something, they're a fed, they're trying to hurt you, they're trying to hurt innocent people, they're trying to damn your soul. You read, you pray, you enjoy peace and life while you have them, and the universe or your deity will let you know when it's time to stand up and die. Now, there are some other things I wanted to discuss on that front, which are a little bit lighter. Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead is a game you can play for free, downloading it from their website or buying it on Steam to support the developers. And I recommend you try it. Not just because it's fun and fascinating and one of my favorite fictional verses, but also because it helps you start thinking about things. Cataclysm is a post-apocalyptic survival game, but what differentiates it or separates it from other survival games is... I should have put the quotations around the post-apocalyptic part as well. It's not post-apocalyptic, and it's not one apocalypse, it's 7 or so apocalypses cascading into even more apocalypses. Humanity is so fucked in this universe, it's grimmer than most other things I've enjoyed, but it's also funny how fucked you are. Narratively and mechanically, each moment is, well, it can't get any worse than this. And then it gets so much worse than this. And then, in terms of the narrative, the factions, and all the stuff that's going on in the wider world, fascinating if you like writing or cool world building. The important part here for us are the survival mechanics. Also, before we get to the survival mechanics, I love the way in Cataclysm humanity as it is even, is just done. Your reality is going to break itself apart, literally, or if you somehow manage to survive, you're not going to be the same person. Not just in the emotional or moral sense, but again, literally. Either you are a wrong post-human cyborg coming out of it, or you are a wrong non-human mutant. And I love the term post-threshold, because once you mutate and really mutate, you become post-threshold, meaning you really are no longer a human at this point. Either you are going to die in this world, or you are going to become something different, something so much uglier, but also more lethal, yet still hopeless, because the primary apocalypse is still just chewing its way through each reality. Great stuff. Anyway, survival mechanics. It's worth playing aside from just the fun because of the survival mechanics. It gives you things to think about, like weight distribution in kit. Are you weighing your torso down too much? What are you inhibiting if you are weighing your torso down too much? What are your options for distributing that weight more evenly across your body? You'll learn about all different sorts of packs and slings and all that stuff. You'll learn about layering clothing or choosing clothing according to your environment as it changes. You'll learn about, and I'm sure I'm using this wrong, but force multiplication. Not just in literal force, but in mechanics. You could carry 2 screwdrivers, some scissors, a knife, some pliers, or you could carry a multi-tool for a lot less weight and a lot less space. You won't learn a ton about actual dieting and actual survivalism, actual foraging, but the game will give you jumping off points to go research on. I had no idea what rose hips were. Well, I got interested, read about them, and then one day I'm hiking and I see rose hips, and I go, oh my god, I know what you are. You'll learn a bit about firearms, both how they work and what's out there. A significant number of people complained that there were too many different guns in Cataclysm that all essentially did the same thing. But they decided not to go generic, and I'm glad, because there are minor differences, and because they're using actual manufacturers and models, you can look up ones you like in real life and learn about them in real life and maybe end up using them in real life. Cataclysm is a fun game, and while it's not a real life hardcore survival tutorial, it gives you a lot of things to think about. It's gamified, but it's drawing from real shit, and by playing the game, you're alerted to real shit you can then go learn in real life. It's like high-end edutainment disguised as high-end entertainment. And the fact you go in knowing your death is certain is just an extra bit of a mental reinforcement cherry on top. Learn your shit, take risks, be comfortable knowing you're going to die. Starting to run a little long, but we have a couple more topics, and they feed into each other. And if I don't cover them now, I'm probably not going to. Next one. As a very good Lil Darky song goes, get a stick, nobody else will keep you safe. I've always been around guns, but never into them. And I shied away from them, especially after my canon event, because I was just afraid of everything and everyone. And I still am, but we're beginning to manage it a bit better. So I bought a PTR 91 because I am obsessed with G3s but don't have a tremendous amount of money. And while the PTR 91 is no longer the go-to low barrier for entry on the 308 battle rifle field, all the aftermarket shit is still relatively very affordable. And this is the first time I am building out a rifle and taking it seriously instead of just owning something because you're an American and that's what you're supposed to do. Because again, we are going to get hit with something bad, and if we're not going to roll over and die, then we better be prepared to stand as seriously as we can. Now, people say picking a PTR 91 instead of an AR 10 or a Galil Ace or something like that is because you are poor and a moron looking for soul in something that doesn't really have it. Or that soul doesn't matter. Well, I'm here to say it does have soul and it does matter. More seriously, we're all objects. Meaning, if we're an object or if you're an object, then the objects around you are on the same level as you. There's that quote, the things you own end up owning you. Well, they do, and that's not necessarily a bad thing if you're doing it right. I feel a spiritual connection to my 91 the way I feel a spiritual connection to one of my shirts I used to wear every time I would interview people. And if I'm not mistaken, I have a video from a long time ago dedicated to this idea specifically, that your objects do have identities, spirits even. Like, your house might not be haunted, but you can be haunted by your house. If enough bad stuff happened in that house, you're going to feel bad in it. It's taken on a negative, antagonistic aspect, at least in relation to you. My point here, meaning, this could be a larger tangent, but pay attention to your objects. They are affecting you. They have agency. And if you feel good energies on an object, pay attention to that. My 91 is a pitiable yet vicious mutant, and I adore it. It's so janky. It looked like someone was starting to stamp in numbers, and then instead of just replacing the part because I guess they got it wrong, they X'd it out and then put the numbers beneath it. That's so trashy. I'm in love. Like, this thing's elegant, resentful European mother got dog-fucked by an American and got popped out, confused and angry. It's such an atrocious monster, but all it needs is a loving, guiding hand. It's unironically running magazines from 1963 and yeeting, chewing up and spitting out steel ammunition like it ain't no thing. It is such a beautiful, ugly, mean travesty. I was terrified the recoil was going to be too much because a bunch of people complained about it. They also complained about its weight. But it's manageable. In fact, while you feel it, it feels good. It's like a strong, high nicotine tobacco. You feel it, but it's not bad. It's good. And the reason, or one of the reasons I chose the 91 is its iron sights. You have it's a diopter sight, you have 4 settings. You can use it to reach out to long distances. And while I'm not there yet, I lucked out, and I guess mine isn't a complete piece of shit where it counts, because it can hit those longer distance shots. I can't yet, but I'm working on it. I chose this one specifically because I wanted something that could handle just about anything. And while I've slapped a few small things on there, I am saving to invest in better parts. I mean, I want a better trigger. I am looking into barrels. I don't know what getting a better barrel would do, but looking into that. And people were complaining about its weight, but if you just lift more weights and get used to carrying it around for hours, it's not that bad. If Brazilians can do it, and I mean that as a compliment, you can too. And I am so giddy about all this because I feel that connection, and I feel that if something really bad does end up happening and you have to go out, that thing or this thing is not going to let me down. Soul is important. You should probably get armed if you can. Do what feels right for you, but probably do it soon, because I have a feeling you might not be able to get one or something as easily at some point. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is Stalker Anomaly. Another one you can download and play for free. I used to think you had to own one of the actual Stalker games to play it, but no, you can just download Anomaly for free and enjoy it, and I highly recommend it to you. Now, the reason we're talking about Stalker is I was nervous I awarded it holy text status a little too quickly. But I've been fooling around with it again recently and know that was the right choice. It's not going to teach you survival skills. It's not going to give you a bunch of specific things that you can jump into researching to learn real skills. It's another tool that's going to help you get yourself in order and die well. The game looks a lot deeper than it is, but all those little mechanics work together to immerse you in a vibe. That vibe being living somewhere you're probably going to die and representing something you're willing to die for. And in Stalker, you're going to die a lot. It's a very hard game, unforgiving game. But when you get immersed into that place, mentally you're there, and you're walking into impossible odds or trying to figure out how you're going to tackle impossible odds, knowing you are almost certainly going to die, but you have to do it, helps. Like with Clear Sky, yes, I am willing to try to figure out how to deal with military aggressors because I believe in research and achieving harmony with the unknown. I'm gonna try not to die, but I am willing to risk life on that premise. And if you're having a hard time or want a different experience, there is a ton you can do, or tweak rather, to get the experience you are looking for. But that headspace is worth getting into and sitting with for a while. The other reason I recommend it is if you get a stick, it is either probably in there or probably can be added without much difficulty. Again, further getting you into that mindset. Not super serious, but fun and worth the contemplation, or worth it for the contemplation. Worth it for the Jesus Christ, it's easy to die thing. And again, like Cataclysm, it's free. Now, the final thing is completely unrelated, something I've been thinking about for a while. I might start doing tarot readings for people who donate whatever amount in super chats. I've been practicing by giving free readings, and I think I'm to the point I wouldn't feel bad if someone threw a couple bucks and I could give them a reading that is not awful. So again, because nobody watches order development videos, especially to the end, I am putting it here. If you want cheap readings, now is the time and right here is the place. I might see if this is a way actually to make money. I do hate hustling, but money is not bad to have. But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed making it. Nice long video this go round. And actually a little upbeat toward the end. Like if you enjoyed, because it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes. And comment your thoughts, because I love hearing from you. What are your thoughts on dying? We've been talking about it a lot lately. Thanks again for watching, everybody, really. We have a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact, you can pull it back and just slap the shit out of it. And that's a lot of fun. That's so much fun we have on this channel, and I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.